Well, happy January. I am feeling the post-holiday like fatigue like a lot of people, but I actually love January a lot. I don't make a lot of resolutions really this time of the year, but I do start planning, just kind of kick into like a different kind of planning since the holidays are over. In January, I kind of start decluttering the house. After the holidays, like gotten rid of some things, donated some things, decluttered, just tidying up, continuing to like work in the garden, cleaning up just old plants from the garden, also working on like getting more movement like outside, or even going to the gym, just to kind of beat the winter blahs, and thinking about like how I want to plan the garden for the next year. Today, I want to just kind of share some clips, since I don't have anything planted really right now, except a few like cool season flowers, like snapdragons. But I just want to share throughout the year of last year what plants really really shine or outperformed, or they were just super easy or something new, things like that. And then a couple things that didn't really work very well. There aren't too many, and then just kind of how that things that I want to do this year that are different or new. One of the plants that I would say one of the top things that I planted this year for the first time were the elephant ears. I planted those in March. I had a couple of videos about that, just sharing when I got those bulbs from Costco. I planted those in March, and I don't know if I planted them too early or or if I watered them too much, but those I think I left them in there for like over a month, maybe longer, I can't remember, and the bulbs rotted, so I had to plant them again. Then when I planted those again, they had already started to sprout. So within like a week or two, I could see where the sprouts were starting to come out of the ground. So those really were a top performing or favorite plant of mine this year. I live in zone 8B, so it's warm and hot. We have a long like summer growing season, so I think those, especially on the south end of my garden, they were one of my favorite plants this year. Another thing that I planted in March that really outperformed, or more than I planted dahlias in 2024, and I planted them over here, and I think the ground was too hard, the soil was too compact, and the seeds never really just took off. I mean, they got about this tall. So in March, I started those dahlias from seed in little containers. I think I don't know how many weeks I grew them, maybe a month, or until they had like 2 sets of leaves, and then I transplanted them out into this side of the garden, which is like the south side of the garden. And the dahlias, so basically from seed until, I would say, we had one hard frost, I think in November. I had bloom. Well, they took a couple months to bloom, but once they started blooming, it was all the way until November. So those were the floret dahlia seeds. I have some more of those, which I'm gonna plant a few more. I decided to go ahead and leave the other ones in the ground to see how they do. So I don't know if they'll grow back or not. We'll see. Before I forget, because I actually forgot to put this on my list, Johnny's Aurora zinnias, I really like those. I planted those over here, and I planted some over here. Those do really well. They're very pretty. They didn't get as tall. I think those were maybe 3 to 4 feet tall, maybe 4 feet tall at the tallest. But I'll probably buy those again because I like the colors, the varieties. They were pretty. Some of them were kind of like ombre looking. So those are another good one. Or I would just say, I don't want to say zinnias in general because they all don't do as well. So anyway, Johnny Aurora zinnias, I'm going to plant those again. Just to talk about 3 perennials in my zone. The Shasta daisies I planted 2 years ago, and those bloomed for me the first time this year. and then I'm gonna group that in with like the echinacea. I planted those 2 years ago, some of them last year, and some of them bloomed for me the first time this year. So it was my first year having Shasta daisies and echinacea, and those were the prettiest group. It was right here beside me. I'll share some clips of that. Those were the prettiest. It was like the prettiest combination because it was like white and purple flowers in this area that bloomed for months. I mean, they just kept blooming and blooming, and then you kind of deadhead them, and then they would have more blooms. So those, and then black-eyed Susans, which are perennial, but then they drop a lot of seeds. So those typically bloom. Those typically bloom the same year. So I'm definitely going to have that combination of Shasta daisies, echinacea, and black-eyed Susans in this side of the garden, and then probably try to plant some more black-eyed Susans somewhere else because they're just such a good filler flower, and they the bees love them, and it's always like one of the highlights of the garden when you have, you know, black-eyed Susans, and they will pop up anywhere. I have some now that were just, I'll show you, try to show you, they're little tiny babies that just pop up from seed, and they are so hardy, like heat tolerant, cold tolerant. Yeah. Two more things on this list, which is the plants that just like gave long-term impact. I didn't really have to work super hard to do anything with them, and yeah, they didn't have a lot. I didn't have a lot of issues with them. And so the other thing is Mexican sunflowers. I love them. The Mexican sunflowers were I had a little bit more difficulty last year getting them to bloom or germinate, but once they did, they did really well. And then this year they did really well too. And I had some that were probably like, I would say 10 or 12 feet tall. The birds love them. The butterflies love them. They were on them all summer long. So I don't remember. I'll look back to see if it was like July or August, but they made it all the way till November. I think there was a frost. The frost that got the dahlia seeds or dahlia flowers also got the Mexican sunflowers. But it was just nonstop blooms. The bees love them. The butterflies love them. And it was just like, it's so easy. Like if there's not like a storm or something that comes and kind of blows them over, because that did happen one time, and I tried to restake them, which that worked pretty well. But other than that, they're just such a strong, sturdy, easy flower to grow, and they're very much like a pollinator-friendly flower. The snapdragons. So I planted snapdragons this year for the first time. I actually didn't plant them from seed because, yeah, it's like a time frame that I don't really know if I have the patience to deal with right now, at least, because you have to start them weeks ahead. So I got some from the garden center this year, and I got but some of them are looking kind of the color of the leaves is off, but in general I would say that was such a good investment this year, because the blooms have, let's see, I don't have any blooms right now because that first frost, well, that hard frost got the blooms, but then there was like a lighter frost in the 30s. When it got down to the 20s, the little flowers fell off, but I feel like they're going to rebloom, and the foliage is still green, so they're not dead. So I would say for a cool season flower that's like pretty easy once you plant it, I haven't had to do anything to those. Like I water them maybe once a week. Other than that, they just get rain in this type of weather anyway. In the summer, that might be or the warmer weather, that might be quite different. I don't know. I haven't had them through warm season yet. Having like another category, which one of these already fell into the first category because it was one of my favorites, but the top one, like in tropical, would be the elephant ears. I planted those, already said, planted the elephant ears. They did really well, so I won't go on and on about that. But in that pack with the elephant ears were some caladiums that I also got from Costco, and those did really well. I planted those, I think, in March, and then once they started blooming, they bloomed for months. They, the foliage for months, even in our, super hot weather. They did really well. Just as far as other plants for foliage for like an herb, basil, I planted just a pack of basil. I think it was a burpee pack of basil. I don't know where I got it, like Home Depot or somewhere. It was just the best smelling, pretty, basil foliage, like the leaves all summer long. And I think I ended up finally just cutting them down, because I don't know, I knew they were going to die when it got cold. So I will definitely plant basil again this year and maybe try some other herbs. And then the final thing, back here behind me, I'm probably going to move these somewhere on the side of my house. These 2 steed hollies, I got these, my husband got these for me at Home Depot. I'm trying to add more green, like evergreen foliage to my garden for like winter interest. So I really enjoyed having these back here, just when everything is kind of dying or not blooming, just something else to, look at and bring like color to the yard. A couple more things that just were kind of low effort. I've mentioned these before, and I actually planted these in a video recently for this year, and then I planted them a couple months ago, or maybe a month ago, on the other side of my garden. I'll show you what those look like and how they're doing, are the crimson clover. So I planted the crimson clover back here, like last week. I planted some more over here, and then last year, I had planted them the previous year, and they overwintered, and the crimson clover is like a ground cover. And so in the spring, you'll slowly have just them, they get bigger and bigger, and then probably by April, I think by April or so, I had these beautiful red flowers from the crimson clover. The butterflies love them, and I kept them up. The bees love them, and the butterflies, I don't really remember, it was too cold then, but I kept those up until a storm kind of just like, I don't want to say it took them out, but they were so heavy it just kept splitting them and knocking them over. But that was a great one. So just to kind of wrap that up, or wrap the whole thing up, that has me down to the final has me down to the final topic, which is 2026. Like, what am I going to do different? I'm definitely want to plant more tropicals. So I want to plant, and also one of my neighbors has banana trees. And I'm like, well, I kind of want to plant some banana trees because they get tall, but I don't want one that's like 12 feet tall. I want to get 2 dwarf varieties, which get 8 to 10 feet tall banana trees, and plant those on the south side of my garden, the same area where the elephant ears were, because the elephant ears did so good with the sunlight right there that I'm thinking that may be a good spot, and there's only one way to find out. So that's a plan. I'm going to order those. Another thing I would like to do in the future is plant more perennials, so more echinacea, more daisies, and more black-eyed Susans and other things like that in the garden, just to keep from having to buy so many annual seeds every year. I definitely want to have more defined areas, like this year I was like, oh, I'm going to sprinkle some of this over here, and I tried to have a defined area, but some of them didn't do very well. Like, I have this area right here beside me, where it's like a little low spot, and the perennials grow, and then by the time I plant something behind it, they can't get enough sunlight and it never grows. So I think I'm going to get like a bigger bird bath and put it right there in that spot, because then I have a little bird bath, but then the birds can come, and that'll be a good little like feature in the garden that is kind of taking up space where I can't seem to get anything to grow right there anyway. So if you would like to share, if you have a garden or you plant anything, if you'd like to share kind of what worked for you this year or last year and what didn't, I would love to hear that. So if you made it to the end, thank you for watching. If you like watching garden videos, or just coming along to see what I'm going to be planting this year, that would be great. And see you next time.